Thanks, of course, Sony Ericsson, Intel, and G-Skill. And thank you, of course, to our red Terran player up at the top right of Tal'Darim Altar. It is none other than...
I am MVP.
MVP looking so strong today.
Oh, absolutely. He looks strong right now. Look at him.
He does.
He's like a strong guy, man.
His brain is strong. And here's his opponent. Really needs to win this game or he will be eliminated from the tournament.
Players GanZI.
There's GanZI. Slayer's tag on his jersey. Doesn't look as nervous anymore, actually. At the very beginning of the first game, he looked really nervous. He said in his interview he was nervous. He looked a little bit on edge. He looks okay now. I think he's settled into a groove at this point.
I think you're right.
Just focusing.
Well, he definitely is going to be settled into a groove because you have to be settled into a groove to go Command Center first twice in a best of 5.
Wow.
And he's going to be doing that here. This is Tal'Darim Altar. It's a better map to go Command Center first on. But MVP is going for a barracks, 1 barracks expand. And
wow, and GanZi's
again, he's
even going to put it... Oh, no, he's going to hide it. Never mind.
GanZi's just going to get the better end of build orders here.
Now, he did this in game 2.
Yes.
And got the better end of the build order, and then tried to go for a bit of a timing attack that didn't work out due to various factors. So, question is, all right, he's going to have a better build order this game as well. Is he going to be able to take advantage of it this time?
I'm really curious to see what kind of unit composition we're going to see. Almost everyone in the world who plays Terran versus Terran has switched over into mech play. We've seen it a lot. We may see GanZi, however, try to go for a bio style because he's not terrible at it, and you know it's a large map. It's the only map where, in my opinion, bio can work, and it very rarely even does on this map. We've seen lots of players try it against meching players. GanZi is adding a second barracks before getting his gases, and that's not too uncommon with a Command Center first, but with the current styles that Terran players are using, it's very unusual to be going double barracks this early.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that we haven't seen in this series thus far. We have not seen Marine Tank versus Marine Tank. We haven't seen that yet.
No, we have not.
And I think that actually benefits GanZi, even though he has been losing games, because I think MVP is just better at Marine Tank. I mean,
I would agree.
Back 6 months ago when everyone was doing it, MVP could not lose because he was just actually knew how to do it better than anyone else.
Well, gas is going down for GanZi now. Just 1 though instead of 2, and that really does indicate he wants to go for a more bio-oriented opening. SCV does barely sneak by the Marine, but there are more Marines waiting for him, so he's not going to get any scouting.
Nope.
Sorry, SCV.
It's interesting. GanZi actually... Okay, now he's sending Marines out to stop scouts now that he's going for his Command Center and putting it in his expansion. For a minute there, GanZi was just leaving his Marines in space. I was like, he's just going to let the SCV go?
Yeah, that was something I was going to mention as well, because that was pretty close. If he had not pulled those Marines at that exact moment, he would have seen the Command Center. Right now in the main base of MVP is making a factory. His Command Center is finished. He's actually done with his orbital as well, and actually decides to scan rather than dropping a mule, and sees the barracks.
Sees the barracks.
And like I said, he's just going to be going for bio, man. He just wants to try it on this map.
Wow. Okay. GanZi going for mass bio. I find this a little bit surprising. I really do, because
Me too.
Like I remember talking to Slayer's players. I remember MMA, and actually I don't remember if it was GanZi or Ryung, talking to them a few months ago about it and being like, well, do you like bio or do you like mech better? And they're like, oh, mech is infinitely better. The Slayer's players were saying that, so it's really interesting to see MMA going for bio the other day and GanZi now going for bio as well.
Yeah, Slayer's Cello was actually very confident in both of his players today. When I asked him, I said, do you think GanZi will be able to take it? And he said, absolutely. So I think Slayer's Cello a lot more confident than GanZi, especially like you said, how nervous he looked after the first set. And before the first set especially. Right now, MVP is getting Blue Flame. He's getting his starport. And in the main base of GanZi, he's just making 4 barracks. He's just making out of those 4 barracks. He's getting that combat shield upgrade right now. And I love this. Whoa. This is exactly what you have to do if you play bio against mech. You have to get a hidden command center. It's very difficult to defend against Hellions with that hidden command center, but this is one way that you can really use that mobile force to your advantage.
Yep, well, if you do have an engineering bay around, let's see, I'm trying to check if he has an engineering bay. Yes, he does, so he can make that a planetary, which will make it so that he can defend against Hellions pretty easily.
He's also getting +1 at that engineering bay very quickly, and adding finally now his factory. He is going to need that factory to add tanks in later. Of course, get those medevacs out that he's going to want. Cloak being researched right now for MVP. Very interesting choice, but I think a very good one as well.
Oh, wow. Look at this. Oh, wait. I don't know if it's going to spot that, actually. I think it...
Oh, it will. It's rallied to see it eventually.
Oh, it's see it eventually, but not yet.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, not yet. He has rallied it to check that location, so we'll find it.
That's interesting. I wonder if that means he's going to... Well, it's going to be too late to cancel it, actually, when it gets there.
Yeah, it's going to be way too late to cancel it.
I wonder if he's going to float it or just make a planetary or make an orbital and just say, all right, well, I'm just going to go with it.
This
but at
little
this point,
attack by
Ganji's going
GanZI,
for a major attack, though.
This is going to be pretty tough for MVP to defend, but he does have a bunker. He also has Blue Flame, but with this micro of GanZI, will he get the bunker? He gets the bunker. He's now getting a lot of SCV. It's a very interesting attack by GanZI. I don't know if it's going to be worth it, though, in the long run. He lost a ton of Marines. Right now, the worker count is 46 for GanZI, 37 of MVP. With Mules, though, it's not too significant. What's really significant, though, is that he has that third Commencer. He's actually going to float it. Here comes the Banshee into the main, flies into a turret.
Oh, no. Oh, almost dies.
And it might still die. Cloak is not done. Just barely gets out there. Another drop, though, with these Hellions killing so many SCVs of GanZI.
Oh, and he runs it back in. Oh, almost
that was
a little
a
bit too
close
early.
call.
Both players suffering close calls.
Yeah. But even after that attack, GanZI remains 47 to 39 with the SCV count.
Yeah, he only got a few SCVs in that attack, unfortunately, and MVP just was able to overpower him quickly enough. So nicely played by MVP, but MVP, surprising lack of control by him, running his Banshee in that way.
Yeah. He's continuing to use that Hellion to check to see if his opponent has moved his command center to a different location. Of course, we know that he's moving down to 9 o'clock, or 6 o'clock, excuse me, expansion.
Yeah, that's a smart move.
Yeah, and he's now checked every other location. He's seeing all of his Hellions to go and find it. Now, even though, like you said, he didn't kill very many SCVs with those Hellions, he's damaged a lot of them. That's going to come into play later, and he blocks it with those Hellions. Nice. And leaves just one Hellion there to block it. And he's actually going to move the command center now into his main. He's not in too tough of a spot, though, because MVP has just now started his third command center.
Yeah, at this point, what he's going to do is just land it, turning it into an orbital, and then float it over to his sort of more normal third, just outside of his natural expansion. So he can defend it normally anyway. So nothing really lost in the long run, I guess. MVP is now making 2 command centers.
Yeah, he's making a command center.
Here's a drop.
Oh, a huge drop. There are a lot of Hellions here, though. It looks like he's just going to get the starport, as much of it as he can, then get out. I'd be really disappointed in him if he tries to fight these Hellions.
Yeah, especially depending on the angle he brings the SCVs in. He might just try and slaughter some SCVs. He does get a couple SCVs and gets out with about half of his forces. Auto turret being dropped down there as well.
Well, you know what I talk about all the time is when people go bio on this map, they can do it as an opening, but they should switch back into mech eventually. That's something that GanZI is not doing here, but he is making Vikings. It's very important to make those Vikings, otherwise your opponent will just have air control always and use Banshees, battle cruisers, what have you, to take control of the game. And I like it that MVP has taken another hidden expansion on the top left as well, because if the bio is all the way over there, even though it's a more mobile force, if it's all the way over there to attack that, it's going to be very easy for MVP to do run-bys with his Hellions, move his army through the middle of the map, so it's a base where you can get mining, but it's also a nice distraction for him.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting location, too. It's at the rocks over at that top left spawn location, which is it's not the best place to take, but because of that, GanZI probably won't check there.
Exactly. He's going to have to destroy those rocks to get optimal mining. We're not talking about these rocks, of course, where MVP is going to land his third, which is much later than the third of GanZI.
And will the barracks go down? It's in the red, it's chasing it.
It goes down, and that means no more factories for MVP for a short period of time.
Oh yeah, that was his only barracks. There you go. It did serve its function, though. It was floating over there to spot drops coming in, and it did spot GanZi's drop. So it was able to defend against that, put up some turrets. And GanZI getting yet more barracks.
Yeah, more barracks, adding another command center by the looks of things as well. And even though GanZI is now 17 supply up, that supply gap is going to be narrowed very quickly by MVP because he's going to be able to continue to produce more mech units, which are better in the long run, and obviously take up more supply. For example, siege tanks. The more siege tanks he makes, the less important the army of GanZI is going to be. But GanZI is doing...
Wow.
So GanZI's doing... There's two things you can do if you go bio. One is you can transition back into mech. The other thing you can do is hide a ton of Vikings and then go into Banshees yourself. I mentioned before that he was doing it just because his opponent might go Banshees, but in this case he's going for his own Banshee switch that is going to be very unknown to MVP for a long time.
And that's kind of the classic way, that's kind of the only way actually to catch up in Vikings if you're behind, is let your opponent get complacent with their air lead by not showing yours and then busting out with a ton of them at the same time. And that's exactly what GanZI has done. He's hidden most of his Vikings this entire time, so he's flying out with a huge air force now.
He's got twice the Vikings of MVP, 12 Vikings to 6. He does have 3 Banshees. His opponent has 2 Banshees, but that's not going to come into play when these Vikings collide.
And that's going to be really good against MVP's army because, you know what? If you go mech, you don't have any Marines on the ground. The Banshees are just going to own everything. There's not going to be any Marines to stop them. Banshees can kill Hellions and tanks and whatever they want once they fight through the enemy Viking fire.
Well, MVP has started 3 turrets at the front of his base. It's going to be extremely useful here. Remember, he's got a ton of siege tanks, so the Bioforce isn't going to be as concerned. The problem, though, is that his planetary is now under attack.
Oh, he's having to split away from where those turrets are. There is one turret there firing away at his Viking. Needs to pull the Banshee, rather. He needs to pull the Banshee back. He's target firing down the planetary and loses all of his bio to a planetary being repaired by a dozen SCVs, and this is just going horribly for GanZI.
Yeah, meanwhile, his factory is flying into missile turrets at the natural.
Wow.
Escape with that factory.
So again, we have a case of GanZI having a good idea with not the best execution to actually pull it off. He tried to just go in there and snipe that planetary as soon as he could, but he didn't get the SCVs. His Banshees were not firing at the SCVs or anything like that. They were just taking turret fire. So, did not work at all. GanZI is now in not as good of a position. He still is ahead in supply, though.
Yeah, he is, and we're going to have another engagement here. Point Defender going down for MVP. He also has a Thor. And the army of GanZI, though, is just maybe a little bit too much here. The Vikings are going to win this battle, and the ground force is crushing through the siege tanks. And it looks like GanZI may just be able to take this game with this unusual tech switch. I mean, we see this sometimes, but it's very rare.
He's going to have to worry about the turrets, though. That's the thing that's going to keep him back because he was depending on that Air Force to basically give him the advantage. Surprised he didn't charge him with the rest of his bio for a little bit more of an attack, but he may regroup and go for another attack here.
I think
or
that's
he may
smarter.
just take another couple expansions. He can kind of do what he wants. He's 40 supply ahead right now.
He's making a fusion core right now.
Oh, yeah.
12 Vikings to 3. When you have that number of Vikings compared to your opponent, getting a fusion core is a smart idea. It's good to get those battle cruisers out. They do extra damage. They also deal with the Thors that are the only answer for the Vikings, really.
Yeah, and in 3, 2, 1, 0, there we go. +3 weapons finishes for GanZI. +3 Marauders can take out mech units so fast if there's not enough of a buffer in front of them.
They can take out planetaries quite quickly as well, and
Indeed.
it looks like that's where he's going to assault with these units.
And here he goes. He's stimming in. He's going to try and target the planetary down directly. SCV's trying to repair it, but the turrets are actually stopping them from getting enough surface area, and the planetary goes down.
This is not looking good for MVP, but GanZI still does not know about the hidden expansion. Meanwhile, MVP is taking yet another hidden expansion at the 9 o'clock position. As you guys just got a shot up, he actually has not destroyed those rocks either, so he's long distance mining from there, but he's still getting some extra mining. It's long distance mining from where his planetary used to be as well. And MVP, even though he's got what many would consider to be the better composition with the siege tanks, he just does not have the air control he needs, but he's slowly catching up. It's 12 Vikings for GanZI to just 8 of MVP.
Up at the top left, this random Marauder is going to spot that extra base. He is scouting around for extra bases now. He's like, wait a second, I should be way ahead. Why is MVP still in the game? And is looking for those expansions. He's going to find one of them. Meanwhile, a Hellion finds his hidden expansion at the bottom left.
But a Marauder will save it. And that Marauder is going to go down.
But Wolf, the Marauder, went in there at half hit points. How is he going to go against a full hit point Hellion? Oh wait, a half hit point Marauder could take out 3 or 4 Hellions by itself, probably.
Oh, here comes another huge stim at the third base location of MVP. Trying to remake a command center here. Does not have enough siege tanks. A lot of these SCVs that were long distance miner are being taken out as well.
Wow, huge blow for GanZI. GanZI is taking this by storm. The army of MVP comes in, but again, those are just Marauders being taken. He does take out the command center. It was
He's actually going to engage these tanks as well by the looks of it. Does decide to back away, killing more SCVs.
Can't quite engage those tanks. Too low of hit points from a couple stims there.
+3 armor is on the way for GanZI's bio. And he's got, you know, that Viking force floating around, so he wants to see his opponent's Viking count if he can. He hasn't really been able to get a good glimpse of it, and right now MVP actually has the better Viking count. As far as battle cruisers go, we have not had any battle cruisers made just yet.
Nope. Here's the thing though. GanZI shut down both of MVP's hidden expansions, and so MVP is just mining out of his third base basically, which is distance mining right now. His second base, his natural, is almost mined out. So MVP's income is very low right now compared to GanZI's.
Very true. The Vikings at the north of GanZI almost caught the command center of MVP, so he has been able to keep one of his hidden expansions alive. He was able to float it away. He can't land it anywhere though because GanZI's got such good map control, but it's fortunate for him he was able to keep it alive. Down at the bottom left, GanZI's command center that he was spotted is still finished, it's still up, it's actually being made into an orbital right there. So he's actually got much more mining like you were saying, and MVP is about to get starved out here.
Yeah.
He was able to remake his third. Finally, he's made it into a planetary again. GanZI deciding not to rush it down. He scanned, he saw there were just too many siege tanks there, does not want to try to break that, but instead may try to do a large drop into the natural.
And ladies and gentlemen, GanZI has 3-3 bio.
He does.
That is a scary, scary thing.
He's getting Terran building armor right now.
Oh, wow. And high-sec auto-tracking.
Yeah. So getting those additional upgrades.
Yep. I mean, he's rich enough at this point. He's maxed out. When you're maxed, you know, you spend on the extra upgrades. And here he is putting some pressure on MVP's base here. And this is part of the problem with going mech. That's one of the only problems, really, is you have to spread yourself thin. And so MVP's tanks are spread out between his two bases, so he doesn't have enough to really stop these little kind of harassment on each expansion by themselves.
Oh, and this command center is about to get spotted in the north. You guys get a shot of it.
Oh, it is.
Oh, he spots it, but he doesn't show it. He shows his units incorrectly. Probably could have done a lot more with that. But either way,
Ooh, good
a lot
scan
of
by
posturing
GanZI.
here. Both players are maxed out, by the way, and MVP is actually maxed out with a better army. He actually still has quite a chance in this game despite having no income.
He has 24 tanks.
One wrong engagement, though, for MVP, and he will be out of luck. He actually has to use this force that's been given to him, so to speak, from his 3 bases.
Yeah.
And to the best of his ability, if he messes up one time, it'll be it.
Here comes the Viking
a
battle.
much better concave here for GanZI.
Ravens
Point
go in,
defense drone
PDDs
goes
go
down as well. This is not looking good for MVP.
Not at all. GanZI is definitely going to win the Viking battle despite that Thor being in there. It's not doing enough damage. All the Vikings for MVP are now dead. If GanZI has one air unit, which he actually is maxed, so he can't even make an air unit right now. But if he was able to get one Banshee out, it would be huge. And there is actually a battle cruiser in production for GanZI, which could easily take out that Thor and go to work on the area, on the rest of the ground units.
But will he have enough time? I mean, these forces are at his doorstep, and they're all sieged up now. His bio's coming from the other side, but there's so many tanks, he actually cannot engage it. Nice, dropping mules here to force these tanks to unsiege.
And he forces him to
Oh, beautiful move!
unsiege as he runs in while he's unsieged from the mules with all of the Marauders. Take out so many siege tanks. The Vikings land and take out even more. All of the Marauders die, but half the siege tanks did as well. That might have been enough that he can rebuild his army and kill off the rest of MVPs.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is why mech is better than bio. MVP still has a strong chance here. He's starting to get his siege tanks into the area where the units of GanZI will emerge.
Is GanZI going to be able to get his force up, remade in time? He's actually making 4 medevacs right now. He may just try and go for a counter drop or something like that.
Yeah, he's going to try to evacuate by the looks of things. He does have that battlecruiser out as well. That's going to be
kill
pretty
that
useful.
Thor, that battlecruiser can clean everything up.
It looks like he's going to go for it now, moving that Thor forward.
He needs to target down the Thor. Tough position for GanZI, moving out from behind. Is that Thor going to be repaired? The SCVs can't quite get to the Thor. The battlecruiser does take out the Thor, and that is going to save GanZI for the time being because now this battlecruiser can just kill everything off.
Hey, he's killing those SCVs that are in their little repair circle. The turret finishes, and there are SCVs there. He can actually repair the turret. He's actually repairing the turret right now, and the battlecruiser's taking a ton of damage. Meanwhile, SCVs are being killed by Hellions of MVP. He's actually going to kill all the SCVs over here for GanZI as well.
Oh no. Huge hit, and MVP is actually attacking every one of GanZI's extra bases
GanZI
at
has
once.
not lifted this base. He does not lift the base, and Siege Tanks have killed it. SCVs are being taken out here.
MVP in one fell swoop has just attacked all of GanZI's expansions, has taken out the SCVs at 2 of them, has taken out the command center at the 3rd one. MVP he just typed in his cheat code, man. He's like, I'm the game genie, Terran. You do not beat me. I am typing in my codes and coming back into this game, and MVP now has a 50 supply lead.
He does. GanZI has blown his battlecruiser into yet another missile turret. The battlecruiser almost taken out by a missile turret. So close, but the Vikings take it out.
The Vikings finish it off. This is horrible. GanZI falling apart. MVP just came out of that battle with too many tanks, and GanZI didn't rebuild fast enough.
Look at this, destroying this Bioforce, showing that Mech is superior. He's got +2 weapons on these siege tanks. He's now sieged up the production facilities. GanZI has nowhere to run. Dropping mules to try to help out, but all of the tech labs have been destroyed. Any Marauder that comes out takes damage instantly, and all of these barracks will be cleaned up. If he lifts them, he's losing production time he needs. Another battlecruiser has been spotted here, but he's kiting it with the Vikings.
Nice, very nicely done by MVP. Look at the multitasking, able to kite this battlecruiser while he's macroing up more units, while he's attacking these extra bases, taking out the barracks of GanZI. And GanZI had this game in the palm of his hand. He was reaching out for it, and all he had to do was just take it, and MVP's 24 tanks snatched it out of his hand and said, you will not get this game after all.
GanZI is not going to sleep well tonight. I can guarantee you that.
No, he's not going to be able to sit down for a week, man, because he's going to be kicking himself all evening.
Well, this little counterattack by GanZI is pretty smart. He's going to cut off the production of MVP, but even so, MVP just has to turn around and take out this force. He actually has the ability to lift, because right now, he's got air control. Something that I thought he would never regain, he actually has it. And he's going to take out most of these tanks, but losing a lot of bio in the process. And now, units of MVP have come home, and yeah, you can just lift everything up. There's not enough Marines here to do enough damage to kill the flying buildings. And that's going to spell the end for GanZI. That's his last force. Meanwhile, MVP has sent another large force down to clean up everything else that GanZI has at the bottom of the map. There it is right there. He's going to lift this, but there are Vikings. Look at that, man. That is just
moments away from GG. GanZI right now.
GG.
There we go. GG. GanZI eliminated. MVP was so close to losing that game. He is so relieved to have won it. And
look at the scores. Well, you guys can't see the scores. The scores are higher for GanZI in this game because he mines so many more resources.
And I just want to go back and point out the brilliance of what MVP did in that attack. First of all, he's like, all right, I'm pinned back in my base. If I let him keep mining, I can't get any more bases. I have to attack. GanZI didn't counterattack, so that paid off for him. But what he did is he engaged, he sieged up, he defeated GanZI's army, and what did he do then? He sent his reinforcements to GanZI's expansions, because that is the advantage that GanZI had, was that he was mining while MVP wasn't. So by taking that one moment, it was the first moment in 20 minutes that he had an advantage, that he'd had map control. He took that one moment and crushed GanZI's economy during that moment, and that was enough to cripple him for the rest of the game.
He basically surgically removed the rest of GanZI's expansions with small strike forces of siege tanks, and he was able to deal with that battlecruiser quite well. The first battlecruiser could have changed everything, but it was just not microed by GanZI. He actually flew it into 2 different missile turrets, and that's all of the use it really had. It killed the Thor, but that was it. MVP moved away with his tanks. He could have actually used his battlecruiser, especially the second one, to kind of control where the tanks were, but meanwhile, MVP found he had a top left expansion all the way up here. Well, I guess for you guys over here, he had that so far away you guys can't even see it. It's off the camera. That's where it was. and he was just dropping mules there only, getting the extra minerals to make more Vikings to deal with the battle cruisers, and he just out-multitasks his opponent. We're going to have another little interview here with our winner who's going to BlizzCon in Anaheim.
수고 많으셨습니다.
MVP.
네, 감사합니다.
네, 소감 한 말씀 부탁드려요. 지금 뭐
He said good job. He says thank you.
아, 솔직히 4경기 때 진 줄 알고 5경기를 나름 생각하고 있었는데 역전하게 돼서 너무 지금 기쁘고 마지막 경기하는데 되게 전율이
The last set, he thought he'd lost it, so he actually started thinking about what he was going to do in the next set. But he was able to come back, so he's really happy about that.
떨릴 만큼 어떤 그런 압박이 있었던 심적인 압박이 있었던 그런 4세트였어요.
네, 나름 괜찮다고 생각했는데 한번 중반 타이밍에 나갔다가 싸먹히고 되게 불리해져가지고 지겠다라는 생각을 많이 했었는데
In the middle of the game, he was doing well.
기뻐요.
네, 정종현 선수 이번
He
이제
went
네
out to
번째
attack,
우승에
but GanZI was
도전하게
able to kill off
되는데
his whole army,
미국으로
so he
갑니다.
thought he had lost at that point.
네, 제가 미국 이번에 2번째로 가는데 너무 좋아요.
비행기 멀미는 없으신가요?
네, 제가 저번에
He says it's my second time going to the United States, so I'm really looking forward to going over to the States.
네, 이번에는 좀 그래도 저번보다는 잘 적응할 수 있을 것 같아요.
네, 아마 정종현 선수 팬분들께서 이 소식을 접하셨다면은 멀미약을 다 단체로 구입을 해서
Last time he got sick on the airplane, so he's a little bit worried about the flight, but hopefully this time he'll do better.
네, 항상 응원해 주셔서 너무 감사드리고요. 결승 미국 가서도 꼭 우승하도록 노력하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
네,
Says thank you for supporting me, and I'll do my best to win
감사합니다.
at
네, 정종현 선수
BlizzCon.
만나봤고 결승전에서도 오늘과 같은 멋진 경기력 기대해 보도록 하겠습니다.
I just want to, what I would like to do right now, and what I may actually do during the 5-minute break we're about to have after this, is actually watch that replay and watch the moment where GanZI had forces in his natural. He had the huge bioforest outside, and this is the part where MVP was just sieged up there, and GanZI dropped one mule. And that one mule forced half the tanks on siege. And in that moment, we were like shouting and yelling, getting excited. I'm like, that 3-3 bios just ripped through those siege tanks. It was a beautiful choice to get the mule down there. And no, actually, the bio got destroyed by a small group of siege tanks. That was just it. It was like, boom, at that moment, he had this advantage. He had to control the map, and he was able to take out those expansions. And even though the mule drop and the rush in with the bio was a good choice, it just shows that mech is a far superior unit composition. You want to be maxed out with mech. GanZI just did not. He was maxed out. He had 2,000 resources in the bank. Could have added 6 factories, 8 factories, but decided not to. Decided to keep making bio. And
I think another thing that played into that particular battle was the fact that GanZI had about 30 or 40 supply tied up in Vikings at that point. If that had been 30 or 40, if that had been 15 more Marauders, I think he might have won that battle actually, or at least. He would have killed off more tanks and he wouldn't have gotten countered quite as much. And he didn't have any air units like Banshees or Battlecruisers to use that Viking advantage, so that was part of it too. But yeah, we can talk more about that after a quick break. We are going to take a 5-minute break. Do not go anywhere. MMA versus Happy is coming up. That's going to be awesome as well. See you in a few.